I won't have to talk about my very complicated feelings about Clara for a long time after this one. Oh, that's nice. Hey folks, I finished up my Series 9 rewatch, so that means I gotta rank these. But before I can even get to it, I do have to specify a few things because I had to figure out how I was going to do these. Now, normally when I do rankings like this, I lump two-parters as one story. But the thing is, some of the two-parters, or in some cases arguably three-parters in this particular series, are a little bit weird and in a way that I didn't feel comfortable lumping them together. So, for example, you have the girl who died and the woman who lived. Now, one is definitely a sequel to the other, but I don't consider them to be a two-parter because this is usually about the first one more than the second, but in the case of both episodes, they have complete stories. They have complete arcs, they climax, they resolve. One follows on from the other, but that's not really a two-parter. To me, a two-parter, it needs to be a case of the story isn't done, not there's more to tell, but like this is an unfinished story. You could never watch just the one half and feel like you had a full experience. That also means, on the same basis, Face the Raven, Hellbent, Heaven Sent, all three of those I'm going to be dealing with separately. I know they connect, but each one has its own arc, has its own conclusion, has its own climax, is a complete experience, even though there are threads to pick up later. So, you don't agree with me? Tough. It's my list. Here we go. Bottom of the barrel. Number 9. Sleep No More. You thought it was going to be Hellbent, didn't you? Well, see, here's the thing. Despite everything about Hellbent and how much the things that I don't like about it, I really don't like about it, there are still some things that work. Or there are things that at the very least I can look at some of the core concepts or the ideas at play and go, that could have worked. There was potential there. I look at Sleep No More and you know what? I got nothing. The few things that it's doing, it's like, I don't see the merit in that. Right from the start with the visual gimmick of the first person and security camera perspective. It doesn't add anything. The story isn't built around being told that way. It is an absolute gimmick and adds nothing to the story. The story itself is not particularly interesting. I don't think the monsters are effective at all. The ending is this cheap, is the horror really over thing that means nothing. There are really no elements at play in this episode where I go, oh, that bit though. I'm pretty much like, no, get out of here. Number 8. Now it's time for Hellbent. So yeah, Hellbent was always going to come in low on this list because, well, as evidenced by the fact that I started that review thinking I was going to be able to talk about it more calmly than I have in the past and ultimately working myself up about as much as I've ever been worked up about that episode. Yeah, I still really don't like it. And honestly, I feel a little bit bad about that because I've talked to people who not only like it, I've talked to people who used to dislike it but have come around on it, and I wish I could. I would much rather like it than hate it, but I'm sorry. I still hate it. I hate what it's doing, and I hate the way that it does it. I don't think it fully properly executes what it's trying to do, and then I don't like what it's trying to do in the first place. So, for my measure, aside from a couple of like little blips of interesting ideas here and there, I don't think it does a good job executing what it's trying to do, and I don't think the thing it's trying to do is worth doing in the first place. So, what else do you expect from me? Number 7. Zygon Invasion, Zygon Inversion two-parter. This placement might be a little bit controversial, but look, can I be completely honest with you? Other than that speech at the end, which kills, I don't really like too much about this two-parter. The first half especially is a mess. It's a lot of logistical problems and the flow is not great. Even the second part, while it's going a little bit better overall, and like I said, the tail end of it and the speech, I mean, the speech is why the whole thing is, isn't closer to the bottom. Even if it didn't have the speech, it wouldn't have been below Hellbent and Sleep No More. But look, I just think that speech, while amazing, and I will happily rewatch that anytime, the package that it comes in, I just don't think it's that good. I get what it's trying to do, but I don't think it pulls it off. Number 6. The Woman Who Lived. My issues with this one largely have to do with just the elements don't fully gel. Like, I actually find what's going on with the Shielder really interesting in terms of what they're doing with her and the implications and what it means for a human who was never, a species that was never designed to live this long is living this long, and sort of digging into what that really means for her life experience. But then the whole thing with the Thundercat looking dude and everything else, I'm like, the pieces don't quite fit together right on this one. So despite some good moments and some solid performances, it just kind of ends up being, it's okay. Number 5. The Magician's Apprentice and the Witch's Familiar. So this one is got some hiccups in it. I have mixed feelings about ultimately the fact that Davros is trying to trick the Doctor and all of that, because I feel like it undercuts some really strong stuff done prior to that. But this, like I said, the stuff prior to that was really strong. That cold open on the first one is amazing. And Missy is so much fun in this. It is stellar. Michelle Gomez is owning this. I really wanted that pointy stick to be a running thing, but the way she messes with Clara and messes with the Doctor and teases the Daleks. Like in my mind, this is almost more of a Missy story than anything else, because at the very least, that's what I come away going, yeah, about it the most. Number 4. The Girl Who Died. So this one I put above The Woman Who Lived, largely owing to where things go on the tail end in terms of what it brings out about the Doctor and his realization of where the face comes from and the significance that is given to that. That bit, I was going to say speech. It's probably not enough to qualify as a speech, though I did put it on my top 10 speeches list. I love what that moment means for this Doctor in terms of coming into his own, because I love the 12th Doctor's arc over his 3 series. I absolutely adore it, and this is a real pivotal moment in that. And the rest of what's going on is pretty good, but you know what this episode has? It has a lot of great banter. I love the Doctor trying to prep these villagers to be able to take on these aliens, and the little snippets of advice and the lines about how he just gives everyone nicknames because he can't be bothered to learn their real names. I love the interactions. The plot is fine, but it's the interactions and that bit at the end. It brings it up to, pretty good. Number 3. Face the Raven. Look, this is a really good exit for Clara. It's an amazing culmination of where things have been going for her, not only over the course of the series, but also prior to this. Despite the fact that Series 8 was not designed with the intention that Clara was going to continue on into Series 9 and then have the exit that she did, they picked up on things that were already going on in Series 8 and brought them forward into Series 9 to bring it to this conclusion. Everything that is going on with her getting too comfortable with these scenarios, getting cocky, thinking that she can be like the Doctor, and making a fatal error. And the impact of that, the way that she comes to some degree of acceptance of that, but at the same time, the episode does not chicken out and be like, and she went peacefully like, no, this hurts. This is not pleasant for her. Yes, she faced it bravely, but no, this sucks. Sucks for her. It sucks for everybody. The only reason I'm not going to go higher than 3 on it has to do with things like the street, the hidden street thing and things going on there. Like, that's a really interesting idea that doesn't really get explored here. I'm not sure that it needed more time devoted to it, because where the time does get allocated makes more sense. But it does leave me going, that's an idea that I kind of wish you had stuck into an episode where that could have been more the focus. This mashup of this mix of aliens. So, it's a setting that I wish either had a story that was more about the place or was a setting that I wish came back. And I don't just mean getting redressed for Husbands of Rivers song. Number 2. Under the Lake and Before the Flood. This is a really strong two-parter. And it does a really good job building the mystery and building the tension, because you're seeing these ghosts and it's like, what is going on? And what I really like about it is these are clearly something to do with the fact that these people are now dead, but it never tries to play like, oh, it's really ghosts. Because one of my recurring things that not necessarily annoyed by, but I definitely do make fun of on Doctor Who is it's this mythological or folklore or superstitious thing. And then it's like, ooh, no, it's aliens. Here, clearly there's something else going on. It never tries to sell that the ghosts are actually ghosts. They have too many restrictions. They're behaving too weird. Something else has to be at play. So it doesn't try to be like, oh, but they're not really ghosts. There's something else, which is smart, because if you watch Doctor Who at all, you already knew that. But it's just really well put together. The look on the Fisher King is great. And the Doctor and the tension with him in terms of him getting excited about what's going on, but then having to face the fact that more of these people are going to die, and he knows it and he can't do anything about it. And the stuff that goes on, they do some really interesting things with the deaf character. The tension in that scene where this ghost is dragging loudly this axe behind her and she can't hear. It's like, oh my God! There's some really good tension. It's really well paced. There's a good build to the whole thing, and it's even got some cute and fun moments in it as well. So yeah, this is a really good and well put together piece. And number one, to the surprise of literally nobody, Heaven Sent. Oh boy. I mean, what else is there for me to say about this episode? It's beautiful. It is fantastically put together. It is so sure of itself. There is so much confidence in doing a very non-standard Doctor Who story in terms of the fact that the Doctor has no one else to talk with. The monster, it's debatable whether it is even really a monster. It's just him talking to himself or to this vision of Clara he has. But it's just him on his own trying to figure this stuff out. That's ballsy. And this thing goes forward with confidence, which you need to if you're going to try and do that. And that's even before you get into the metaphorical and allegorical stuff about grief, about loss, about trying to process, and how trying to do that can feel like you're just chipping away at something that is you're never going to get through. But maybe someday you will, and you can. And oh my God, the emotional roller coaster of the last few minutes of this thing, I can't ever fully recapture it, because seeing it, but I can remember seeing it for the first time, that sinking feeling of how long he'd been there, not knowing how he was going to come out, and then the absolute triumph, realizing what he was doing and that it was going to work. I adore this episode so much. And that's my ranking for Series 9. How would you put these? In what order? How badly do you think I screwed up? Whatever your thoughts are, drop them down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I have a Patreon, which helps keep this whole thing going and offers perks and rewards to those who wish to lend me any level of support. But even if you're not able to do that, liking, sharing, subscribing, all of which also help me out. So I'd appreciate that as well, but you don't have to do any of it, because at the end of the day, you are the council. I just run the meetings, and until next time, this council is adjourned.